Late nights, early mornings, he stays on the grind. Looking past the rate sheet for the value you'll find. He listens, he hustles, he speaks with intent. Every signature means more than the dot.
Hey everyone, and good morning, and welcome to What's Up in Real Estate Show live on Saturday morning. And you know what? Average mortgage rates have gone down again, which is, boosting some refinance activity and starting to bring some buyers off of the sideline. So hit me up if you need to help me analyze your refinance goals, maybe pay off some other debts, that sort of thing. But Sol, what else do we have on tap for today, please?
Absolutely, Mac. Well, that's right. It's been a whole year since we've seen rates this low, and you can really feel that buzz coming back to the market. So today we're going to chat about those lower rates, the slight bump in home sales, and how the competition is cooling off a bit.
That's right. That's right. All this and more news you can use for your week ending October 24th, 2024. I am your host, MortgageMack. That's first name Mortgage, last name Mack. And you know what? Don't take our word for it, but we know that we build relationships with buyers and real estate agents to help everyone win. And along with our co-host, Soul 5.0, let's dive into talking point number one. So, hey, lowest rates in more than a year. I think that's good. According to Freddie Mac's primary mortgage rate survey, the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate fell to 6.19 this week, the lowest since September of 2024 and well below the 7% plus range that we've experienced for much of 2025. Lower rates means lower payments and renewed affordability for buyers. Hallelujah. So what you got for Houston, please?
Absolutely, Mac. So for Houston and the surrounding area, we're actually seeing rates even a little lower, around 6.10% on average. That's giving local buyers a nice little boost, and we're seeing refinance applications in the Houston area jump by about 22% month over month. So definitely a bit of a local edge here. And hey, if you're in Houston and thinking about making a move, now might just be your moment.
So let me put you on hold one moment. So it doesn't look like we have any sound, Soul, on today's show. One moment.
Hey, if you're in Houston and
We do.
thinking about making a move,
We do.
now might just be your moment.
Hey, look, we got a new
So let me
microphone.
Put you on hold one moment. So
We have a new microphone, and I just needed to make sure it works. And guess what? It works better than the old one. So, okay, so thanks for that. And hey, everyone, thanks for that interlude. Rates are falling faster than my willpower for pumpkin spice. I don't know about you, but the holidays are quickly approaching. So, what primary economic event in the past week do you believe led to the current decline in rates that we're experiencing?
Well, Mac, I'd say it's largely tied to the recent economic data showing softer inflation numbers. The market's got a bit of relief seeing the latest CPI coming in cooler than expected, and that helps push mortgage rates down. So, a little bit of good news on the economic front can definitely translate into some home buyer cheer.
I'm seeing a lot of people that are, crediting the current administration for the CPI data, but the CPI data that came out yesterday was actually slightly higher than the previous month, wasn't it?
Yes, that's correct. The CPI did tick up a little bit from the previous month. It's a bit of a mixed bag. It's not a huge spike, but you're right that it wasn't a pure drop across the board. Sometimes even a slight increase can still be read in the context of the overall trend, and that trend is what's making folks a little optimistic. So it's definitely a nuance.
Yeah, but see, I don't. So that's just me. The difference between me and some intellectual disconnect here is that, I think that everybody is happy about the fact that it came in lower than the projected amount, but it still came in higher. So that means inflation is still increasing. So I think that some of the exuberance that I saw yesterday on the internet is sort of misplaced with some of the folks that are trying to credit the current administration. You and I have been predicting here that the current policies related to tariffs are going to potentially lead, and we hope we're wrong, right? We hope we're wrong, but lead to a state of stagflation where, the economy is not growing, rates aren't going down, and into perpetuity, that leads to recession and potentially depression. And I've heard lots and lots of talks in the international communities about the economic challenges facing the United States and Europe. Could you elaborate on that some for us, please, Sol?
Absolutely, Mac. And you're spot on. It's a nuanced situation. Even if inflation came in a bit lower than projected, it's still an increase, which means we're not out of the woods. And you're right that some of that celebration might be a bit premature. Now, on the bigger picture, those tariff policies and global economic pressures can definitely add to that risk of stagflation. Stagflation is basically that tough combo where you've got stagnant economic growth, but still rising inflation. And that can lead to exactly what you said, potential recession down the line.
Yeah.
So
Cool. Thanks for that. We're going to move on to talking point number 2. And today's talking point number 2 is home sales inch higher. That is good news. I can tell you me personally, I've seen a difference in the number of applications, but nationally existing homes edged up to 4.06 million average. So I always forget, what is SAAR, please? What's that acronym?
absolutely, Mac. So SAR stands for Seasonally Adjusted Annual Rate. It's basically a way of smoothing out the data to account for seasonal patterns in home sales. So that 4.06 million figure is seasonally adjusted to give us a clearer picture of the overall annualized base of sales.
Yeah,
So
we've been stuck at 4 million units most of this year. And so this is a welcome uptick, because I can tell you that prior to this month, it was slow, and I'm not the only one that is experiencing this. And if you're an agent out there and you're watching the show, we'd love to hear your thoughts. I know that I'm going to be visiting with several teams next week just to discuss how we can overcome and find ways to generate leads where when they're not coming from the traditional sources. And so I welcome that opportunity. If you're an agent, we'd love to discuss that with you. We're always looking for ways to find where the buyers are. There are buyers out there. We just need to find where they're at. And we believe that, their habits change, and kind of put that into perspective for us, ChatGPT, at least locally, the buyer profile that you and I have been building together inside of the Team MortgageMack marketing plan is kind of elaborate on that profile for us, please.
absolutely, Mac. So locally, the buyer profile we've been honing in on is definitely evolving. We know that the traditional sources of lead have been shifting, and we've been focusing on understanding where those buyers are spending their time now. So for the Houston area, we're looking at a buyer demographic that is increasingly online and very research driven. They're engaging more with digital content, which is why we're leaning into platforms like this show. And they're also looking for more tailored advice that really speaks to their current situation. Things like affordability, interest in certain neighborhoods, and of course, their changing habits around when and how they shop for homes. In other words, our local buyer profile is someone who values that mix of digital engagement and personalized, community-focused advice. And that's
Exactly. And I love that, because, we are using advanced technology, and look, there's no better platform for the digital application process in the marketplace than our rate app, which we're going to introduce to you momentarily. And we're using technology to speed up the process, to offer a super high level of service, so that people can have some peace of mind associated with this process. Because I've done this a long time, and without the technological advancements that we have today, it really was an anxiety-ridden process. And we try to remove as much of that as we possibly can, utilizing technology, but never ever forsaking the relationship with the buyer, and providing them with the objective information that they need to make good quality financial decisions. So now for a break with our partners at Rate, the best mortgage company on the planet. Here we go. 1 minute.
Looking to purchase a new home? The Rate app from Guaranteed Rate has got you covered. Once you've downloaded the Rate app, click to log in and create your password. This will take you to the intro page. Click the gray Same Day or Home Loans tile, and then click the red Apply Now button. Then click Start a New Loan. Begin by telling us where you are in the home buying process. Typically, for a pre-approval, you will click What Can I Afford? From there, the Rate app will load a series of simple questions. Answer each one the best you can as you move along. Once you've completed the application, your loan officer will receive a notification so they can review your information and set up your personalized checklist. The Rate app even allows you to upload documents right from your phone. It's just that easy. And if you do get stuck or have any questions, just give us a call. We'll be sure to get your questions answered so we can get you one step closer to owning the home of your dreams. The Rate app from Guaranteed Rate, simplifying life's biggest purchase.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate you taking over the show there for me, Soul. And hey, you know what? We love the Rate app. World-class mobile application, quality production, and spared no expense in the way that we developed this application. We're convinced not only is it a world-class app, but it's the application for the future for buyers, for their agents. So moving on to talking point number 3, dun, 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 definitely less competition out there than during COVID. According to the Realtors Confidence Index, homes are now receiving fewer than 2.5 offers per sale, down from an average of +5 or more during the peak of the pandemic. With less bidding pressure, buyers can negotiate better terms and sellers need to price strategically. But you know what I would do, and I'm counseling my listing agents and even my buyer's agents. Look, if you're a seller and you're taking an offer and accepting a great deal of concessions, then the things that you can put back onto the buyer. And these are the things that we try to do for our buyers so that we are acting responsibly in our relationship with you, the seller, with you, the listing agent. And that is, get the paperwork out of the way, get your loan pre-approved, and do the things that you're obligated to do in the contract as far in advance as possible. So what do you see in Houston, please?
Yeah, absolutely, Mac. And that's such a great piece of advice for both sides of the table. Here in Houston, we're seeing a similar trend. Less competition means buyers have a little more breathing room, and sellers are having to be a bit more strategic. In the Houston market, the average offers per sale are hovering around just over 2. So it's definitely a different landscape from the pandemic peak. And I love that you're emphasizing getting that paperwork done early. In Houston, we're encouraging buyers to do exactly that, get pre-approved and move through those contingencies quickly so that everyone can have a smoother experience. It's all about
That's right. That's right. And our offer strategy is it just works. And I know some people find it somewhat unorthodox unless you're the buyer and you're the agent and going into a competitive situation where there's 2.5 or more offers, and we positioned you with the financing in that situation to not only win the offer but negotiate any concessions during the option period relates to the appraisal and or the inspection. And you know what? Hey, less competition means fewer bidding wars and fewer bidding scars. Ba-dum, psh. Thank you very much. Moving on. All right. So let's see. Mortgage tip of the week. Are you ready to buy a home? Think you might be ready to buy a home, but not quite sure? Here are 5 game-changing clues that can help you decide if it's time to make that leap. Number 1, if renting feels like throwing money away, might be a clue to buy a home. If you believe that you're ready for the upkeep and responsibility of homeownership, might be ready to buy a home. Number 3, planning to stay in one place for a while, might be ready to buy a home. 4, having savings for a down payment, definitely might be ready to buy a home. And number 5, a solid credit score. All are strong signs that you're financially and emotionally prepared for home ownership. And I can't stress enough about how emotionally being prepared is critical. I run into folks all the time. They want to buy a home. They are qualified to buy a home, but emotionally, it's super, super challenging. They get overwhelmed with anxieties. And no matter what I do and share with them, the idea of owing so much money kind of scares them. And brother, let me tell you, I can relate. So, feeling like a few of those clues sound familiar? It might be time to explore options. So DM me today and let's hop on a call. Let's talk about your situation and see how we can help you move forward, become a homeowner, a successful homeowner in 2025. Now, moving on to today's special segment we're going to do haunted houses today. So let's start with, and I have a, a an article that was published by Cotality, and it had 13 stop tour of America's most haunted places, including Louisiana's Myrtle Plantation, the Queen Mary in California. And you know what? Whether you believe in ghosts or not, these places remind us that homes carry stories. And I like that. I don't believe in ghosts and things like that. But do I think there might be something that can, let's just leave that alone. I am not an expert on ghosts, okay? And I'm not even going to try to be one. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in knowing and understanding what you don't know. So with that said, let's dive into, let's see what we have here. We have our first is the, no, it's not the Queen Mary. Let's see what this home is. This home is, dun, 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 dun. Okay, let's do the Queen Mary first. So the Queen Mary is one of the world's most luxurious ocean liners, was converted into a hotel. Its transformation was superficial. Decades later, the spirit of Queen Mary remains connected to its history. With 200 original first-class staterooms and suites interspersed among 80,000 square feet of salons and Art Deco splendor, the Queen Mary is and was as majestic today as it was back in 1936. Although floating hotels is known to be one of the most haunted in the nation, not all rooms are created equal. Stateroom B340 is one of the spookiest, they say. For years, it was closed to guests, but today's the room is open and available for those looking for a unique experience. So let's replace that one, and let's see which one is our next one. You know, we got to have something in, how about the, let's see what's next. The Exchange Hotel. Let's do this one next. It's called the Exchange Hotel. The Exchange Hotel is located in Amityville, New York. Huh. You ever heard of that movie, Amityville Horror? I have. One moment. Let me just check my cell 1 second. How are we doing here?
Absolutely, Mac. That was a great rundown. And, you know, it's always fun.
ChatGPT, wait 1 moment. So the terrifying legend of the Amityville Horror House starts with a murder at 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York. On November 13th, 1974, Ronaldo DeFeo Jr. killed 6 members of his own family. Oh my goodness, I did not know this. As they slept, he later claimed he did it because of voices from the house. This house is a private residence, not open to public for tours. The owners have changed the iconic windows and the dress to keep visitors away. Wow, I did not know that. I did not know that. Let's see. Let's do maybe 1 or 2 more. Here we go. We have one in New Orleans, La Laurie Mansion. La Laurie Mansion. Testing out a little bit of my French. And it isn't surprising that one of the most unnerving houses in the U.S. is in, of course, New Orleans. What is surprising, though, is the agonizing history of this house that led to its acclaimed status. Located in the French Quarter, the multi-story neoclassical home originally belonged to Madame Delphine Lalaurie, a wealthy socialite who was known for her lavish parties and later for her cruelty. It wasn't until 1834 that the dark history of the Lalaurie mansion was revealed when a slave set fire to the home, and those who came to quench the blaze uncovered the horrific living conditions of some of its residents, many of whom are still said to haunt the mansion 200 years later. Wow. Wow. One more? What do you think? One more? ChatGPT? How about one more in Louisiana? ChatGPT, are you still there with me? Hey, yeah? So we're going to start with the Myrtles Plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana. The dubious honor of the South's spookiest house was long ago bestowed on the Myrtles Plantation, which was originally known as Laurel Grove. Although imbued with ample Southern charm, the facade cannot mask the eerie happenings at this plantation. Built in 1796 by the exiled General David Bradford, the 600-acre estate is well known for a roster of hauntings, with stories ranging from the macabre to the fantastical. Phantoms of generations past are said to walk the plantation's halls, keeping guests company and adding a certain mystique to the atmosphere of this home that seems frozen in time and unable to let go of its past. Wow. Oh, ChatGPT. So what do you say about that?
Wow, in Deuterac, that's definitely a fascinating and eerie piece of history. I think it's a great reminder that homes really do carry all sorts of stories. And whether or not you believe in ghosts, these haunted places definitely add a little extra mystery to the world of real estate. Thanks for taking us on that spooky tour.
Hey, and if you tune in today, tell us which one is your favorite. I was kind of shocked. I didn't read these in advance, and I was sort of shocked as it relates to the human torture. And anybody that knows me knows that I abhor violence. And clearly, there was a great deal wrong in the history of our nation as it relates to the issues that we discuss even today. And so, with that said, I hope this was informative, entertaining, but we never intend to be offensive in any way. So, with that said, let's move on to a little timeless wisdom to keep us all sane in the insane world that we currently are living in, led by insane people that are disguised as leaders. And for those leaders, let's just say it's time that you realize that you have something in you more powerful and miraculous than the things that affect you and make you lance like a puppet. Wow. I think everybody at some level has some sort of influence in their life, and more than others. And I think it's time that we begin to recognize who is truly pulling our our puppet strings. And there's just so many different places from which the puppeteer can arrive, and whether it's social media, whether it's in AI, whether it's in television or radio, and the influences are just overwhelming. And I got to tell you, folks, that later in life, I have discovered that the ability to just turn it all off and just focus on what I truly believe as it relates to what the information that I'm being fed. And I think the thing that's really, really super, super critical is that we have got to begin to verify the messages that are constantly being fed to us. And I see it all the time. And it's just tragic to think that wise and intelligent, or let's just say intelligent people, not exercising wisdom with the perpetuation of ideas and concepts that are just blatantly false, when the actual truth is easily verified in today's world. I just find that astonishing. So with that said, let's hop on for a little comic relief. And real estate, you know what, is pretty serious business, but a pun never hurt anyone. So, hey, let's try this first one that came off of my TikTok. Let's turn on the volume. And let's relate this video.
Yeah, trendsetter.
Let's loop the video. There we go.
The number you have dialed is not available at present. Please leave your information after the
Absolutely,
Yeah,
Mac.
yeah,
And I think that's a
trendsetter.
perfect
Whoa,
note to wrap this
legal,
segment
legal.
up on. A little wisdom, a little humor, and a reminder that sometimes you just gotta double check the info
Yeah,
out there and
trendsetter.
then have a
Whoa,
good laugh.
legal.
So
Hey, will you call a bear without teeth?
Please leave your message after the beep.
Yeah, trendsetter.
What do you call a bear without teeth?
all right. Hit me with it. What do you call a bear without teeth?
A gummy bear.
A gummy bear. That's a classic and a great one to bring a little smile. Always good to end on a sweet note like that.
Oh, this one. Making yachts in my attic. Sales are through the roof.
Oh, that's fantastic. Making yachts in the attic and the sales are through the roof. Love it. A perfect pun to keep everyone chuckling. Thanks for sharing that one.
Yep, this one's really. I think you came up with this one. I told my friend I bought a haunted house, and he said it's a beautiful investment. That's funny. Which fruits do twins love? ChatGPT soul. You got this. You got this.
Absolutely. I got you on this one. Which fruits do twins love? Pears. It's a perfect little play on words. Love the humor.
Thank you very much. I slept like a log, but woke up in the
fireplace. That's a good one. I love these clever little puns. They definitely keep things fun and light.
Hey, if you're listening today, drop us a note. Tell us your favorite pun today. If you have any Halloween puns, we'd be grateful. We'll use them on next week's show and use them on our TikTok channel. We'd love it if you go to our TikTok channel at MortgageMack, and or maybe even our LinkedIn or Facebook page, and go like and share a little bit of humor. And we hope to bring some objective truth to the airwaves out there and to social media by using data as a basis for making good financial decisions. And that's what we believe our responsibilities are, and is with your buyers, is to bring objective data, real objective data, because ultimately people have to make real objective decisions, and they have to live with those decisions for many, many years. And we believe that is our primary responsibility. And so with that said, we are going to close out the show today. Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of What's Up with Real Estate. Thank you to our sponsors, Rate, Analyst Reports. Remember, knowledge is the key to making the best decision for you and your clients. Join us here every Saturday at 10 a.m. And until next time, stay tuned, stay informed, stay engaged, and I'll see you at closing. Say bye, soul.